Hi everybody, I'm Cayci with Everfree Network, and I am here at the My Little Pony Fair 2014 in Nashville, Tennessee. And today I will be interviewing one of the VIP guests, prolific toy designer Liz Knight. Hi Liz, thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm very happy to be here.
How are you enjoying the fair so far?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's really an amazing event. The fans are very passionate about the brand and their ponies and the whole experience, their childhood of having ponies. So it's really fun.
And last night you were inducted into the My Little Pony Hall of Fame. How does that feel?
Yeah, that was amazing. It's hard to believe that something I worked on with Bonnie Zachary so long ago has become such a phenomenon, and I'm really honored. It was really fun.
Yeah, millions of fans to this day.
Yeah, and growing.
Indeed, indeed. So I'm going to go back to the beginning with you.
Okay.
What made you want to be a toy designer?
Well, I actually went to college and trained in industrial design. So industrial design is product design, and I worked for Rubbermaid commercial products in Virginia right out of school. I was working on very functional products from measuring cups to bedpans and all kinds of interesting things. But when I was in college, I always had been interested in toys. I thought about doing some therapeutic toys as a senior project. And I wanted to leave Rubbermaid, and I interviewed with Hasbro. I didn't really know that much about it, but I saw some of the product they were doing, and I was just drawn to it. My Pretty Pony, the first pony, was out, and Bonnie Zachary had done a lot of other interesting toys, and so I just sort of got into it.
That was in the 1981 time frame then?
That's about right, yep.
Okay. Oh, great. Fantastic. So how did you get involved with the My Little Pony line then when you started at Hasbro?
So Bonnie was the original designer, Bonnie Zachary, and the large My Pretty Pony was the first one. And then when I arrived, she was starting to work on the smaller version, the My Pretty Pony, and she was my boss. So it was my first job in the toy industry, and I reported to Bonnie, and they had gone through a whole discussion of, and she'll probably tell you the story when you talk to her, that her sort of vision was that they were natural colors. And they ended up doing a test with little girls for pastel colors. So she was working on that, and she said, okay, Liz, you need to come up with a play set or a toy that they can use with their ponies. So one of my first projects was to design a play set, and that was the show stable.
Oh, fantastic. I had the show stable as a child.
Did you?
Yes, I still have it in my collection.
Oh, good.
So it was a cherished childhood plaything. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Now, one of the ponies that you designed is now a fan favorite because she came back for Friendship is Magic, and that's Applejack.
Right.
What can you tell us about the inspiration for the character of Applejack?
Well, it's interesting. Back then when we were designing the toys, there was no entertainment, and we were really designing different looks, different colors, and trying to come up with new toys, not really so much understanding the power of character and story. Even though there was some entertainment at that time, it was done by the advertising agency, not really by us, separate. So we didn't know what was going on with the story. So for the second round of Ponies after Bonnie did the original, we were trying to get different poses, sort of bring something new. And Applejack was one of the first that sort of she was sort of turning her head a little bit.
Collectors call that the shy pose.
Oh, the shy pose.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very sweet. It's very, and so part of what we were looking for was, something very cute and sweet. That is what girls are drawn to, or kids are drawn to. And part of the process of designing the line of ponies is kind of picking different colors, because you can't have all blue ponies. You're going to have a blue one, a pink one, a purple one, a little orangey or peachy. And Applejack started there by color, really. And beyond that, I'm not sure why I picked apples on her. We called it rump back then. It wasn't a cutie mark. It was called a rump. But it just sort of evolved. It wasn't any bigger thought than that. It was really just sort of giving her a different look.
So were her freckles your call?
Yes.
Fantastic. That's one of my favorite features.
Yeah,
so
I like
cute.
the freckles. It added a sweetness.
Yeah. It really did. It worked on me. Applejack was a childhood favorite as well.
Yeah. It's really been fun to watch her stay in the world and be a great character in the entertainment now. Yeah.
Now, you also designed the sea ponies.
Yes.
And those are also very popular. People are waiting with bated breath for them to come back.
Yeah.
So what about those?
One of the ways we come up with new toy ideas is to really observe how kids play or where they play. We know they tell stories in a sort of world that they create. And we know they take baths and love to play in the tub. So it's sort of an environment or a place where you can create a lot of play toys. And that sort of was the beginning of the insight. And, you know, at the same time, you're saying, okay, so we've got ponies. How are we going to do this? And so sea ponies sort of evolved. And then we needed a place to put them. So we had I had a little seashell in the back.
Right.
But it wasn't until they came out that we started to understand that when they went in the water, they just laid on their side.
Yeah, there's a weight in
Yeah.
the bottom of the tail, and it
So they
doesn't
had to
quite work.
quite do
Yeah.
it. And in following years, some of the other designers put a little kind of inflatable tube on the smaller. I think they were
The baby sea ponies.
Thank you. Yes, the baby sea ponies. That was to help them float.
They have their little floaties or different animals. They're
Yes,
very,
exactly.
very cute.
Yeah, they're very cute. Yeah.
So it's fairly common knowledge amongst My Little Pony fans that Firefly was Lauren Faust's favorite as a childhood. I talked to her at a convention and I asked her, well, who's your second favorite pony? And she said it's Seashell. And then she volunteered that Glory is her third favorite.
Yeah.
And you designed all three of those.
Yeah.
So what was your inspiration for Firefly, who then went on to inspire Lauren Faust?
You know, I think it was sort of a similar state of getting different looks and colors. Again, I hadn't, you know, she's the one who really brought them to life. You know, they were and I think probably she saw in all those ponies from her childhood, these characters and personalities. I gave her a little palette or a little visual to start with and go on, so that I'm really thrilled that she was inspired by them.
Now, Seashell is different in that she's actually sitting
Yes,
down.
That's right.
How did that begin?
Actually, that sort of conversation of ponies being ponies or ponies becoming more human-like, for me started with the stable. You know, I had envisioned the stable to be a stable, you know, with jumps and fences to make a corral and saddles and bridles. And of course, there was no human form, but there was a conversation about where the pony's going to sleep. And, you know, I said, well, ponies sleep standing up. And the marketing person said, well, they need a bed because, as we know, little girls put everything to bed. You know, it's one of their first ways to play. But I was fairly young, right out of college. I didn't have kids, and I didn't quite have all those insights. And so the marketing person was really the one who sort of said, you know, you need to think about a bed. So we started drawing it up and sculpting it, and it seemed crazy. So it was this funny place of putting a human piece into the pony world. And then as we got into new poses, you know, you don't really see ponies sitting very often.
No.
I did find a few pictures on the internet when I was preparing my presentation, but it was just trying to give her new poses. And, you know, if they sleep, they sit, they do all kinds of things. So it was a challenge in the sculpture, though, to really get her to look not awkward.
The ponies who are sitting are still pretty popular.
Yeah.
It's a rare pose, and people seem to really like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember anything about what inspired you to create Glory?
She's the unicorn, right?
Yeah, she's white.
She's white, and I think she has a purple streak.
She's kind of like Rarity today.
Yeah. I loved the colors. I loved purple. And actually, when I was in my 20s, I had a streak of white hair, which, of course, my hair is all white now. But I think that might have been part of my inspiration, is just to put a little streak, if I'm remembering her correctly, which I think I am, yeah.
So was that rebellious in nature?
Maybe, I'm not sure. No, it was a natural streak of white hair.
Oh.
Yeah, natural.
Well, that's fantastic. How fun is that?
Yeah.
Well, you skipped the Generation 2 line of My Little Pony. You were not at Hasbro at all, but you did come back for the G3 line. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I came back when they were bringing Pony back, and they'd created some characters, if I remember correctly, and created Ponyville, which was part of that period, which was really trying to find a new way to play. And I loved Ponyville. At least I loved the small collector. So I was, at that point, vice president of girls, so I wasn't on the board, and there was a director, Gretchen Forrest, working on the brand. So I was involved in the strategic and conversations about it. The struggle with Ponyville was we had these beautiful things that the ponies lived in, which had happened. Someone showed me a slipper that was a cafe. I think it might have been G2 or something.
No, that's a G1.
Was it a G1?
Yeah, the satin slipper sweet shop.
Exactly. So same kind of thing. Ponyville was, a teapot or a bag of groceries that it was a play set. And they were cute, but I think they were a little hard for girls to understand if it's a cafe, you need to understand that it is a cafe.
No, by Ponyville, you mean the line of toys that are smaller.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
for those of you listening, they were G3 ponies that are similar in size to today's blind bags.
Exactly. And the standard pony line was sort of, we would try and find new features, whether it was a gem or color. I can't remember all the details of that. And then there was So Soft, which was like a
Oh, yes.
baby doll.
They were like robot ponies
Sometimes, yeah, they had features and gave a little bit of baby doll play to the girls. And then I think they call it 3.5, right?
Which not terribly popular, unfortunately.
No. And that was a real struggle search to try and bring that new freshness to the line. I mean, that's what we're constantly struggled or challenged with, is to have something new. And Gretchen worked hard on that. And, we were trying to find something really cute. But that eventually sort of led to a really big makeover, which is what Lauren brought to it.
Right. Now, back when you were struggling with the G3 line, was that when you found that little girls were playing differently and at a different age?
Yeah. Well, and I think times just change. The Ponyville line was really for an older girl, but my little pony was getting younger and younger. And when, back in the 80s, girls were 6, 7, 8, they could be older.
All the way up to age 12 even back then.
Yeah. So it did change, and girls have gotten more sophisticated. The things on the market are much more sophisticated today. So, having the entertainment really and the whole characters and story that Lauren brought really helped the brand sort of get a little bit older.
So the characters of Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash have continued mostly intact. Were you involved with their creation on the G3 line, or had they already been created by other people when you came back?
I think they were in the process of being created by the team, and that was really the design and marketing team with some internal storytelling groups or sort of entertainment groups that were working on it. But they knew how important it was to have really different characters that helped create or give the girls an opportunity to tell stories in a different way. Pony had been the same. It was basically a sweet little pony, same personality for years and years. And by starting to sort of separate out their roles and their relationships and give them different personalities, really enriched it.
So what can you tell us about how you worked with Lauren Faust on the toys for Friendship is Magic?
Yeah.
Like, how did that start out?
So I met Lauren really right at the beginning. We met her out in LA to start talking about this project, and she's a real pony fan. It was fun. She told me she liked Firefly. I think she even named her business after it, one of her businesses. So it was a great challenge and a really good push or sort of stretching of us internally, because Lauren had a real vision. She knew exactly what she wanted to do, and that vision, having a creative steward or someone who really knows where they want to take a brand or take characters, is the power of what she created. But from a Hasbro perspective, we were sort of stuck in our world that we knew. So she had to kind of pull us out of it. And that was a really good thing, but it was hard. I mean, we had a lot of interesting conversations. She did a lot of drawings, and we would make comments back and forth. And she was, she did a great job working with us. So picking out the characters and the different names was certainly one of the first things we did. And it was hard to find names that she was passionate about and characters from the past to hold on to some of the heritage. Like, we didn't want to throw it all away. And then there were some names that didn't clear. So it was a real process of sort of getting down to that core cast, which, I think turned out really well.
Oh, clearly.
Yes.
So then you saw some of her sketches of, her vision of the G1s that she played with as a child.
Right. And of course, she is coming from the perspective of an animator, hugely successful animator. We're coming from the perspective of, we've got to make a toy out of this. What is that going to look like in 3D? So when she would send us these beautiful graphic flat characters, we're trying to see around the corners. What happens with that nose? It's sort of pointy nose. How is that going to look three-dimensionally? So we kind of pushed and pulled a little bit on each other. And we learned a lot too about animation, because if she did everything we wanted, then her animation wasn't going to work in the same way and the other way. So it was a real education. And once we started to sculpt them and kind of find 3D and what did Pinkie Pie's curly hair look like, and how did Fluttershy's beautiful head of hair or her mane come down, it all started to come to life.
Was the hair of the toys a difficult thing to translate from the
Yeah,
animation?
that's a good question, because their hair has been sort of the same.
Mm-hmm.
And even in that 3.5 version, we were trying to give them different looks, but it's really hard to get the phyllo hair, which is the rooted hair, to look really different without an awful lot of manufacturing preparation. So cutting it, putting gel in it, making it look really distinct. So it was a challenge. But then, when we were able to sculpt them with the hair, and we actually had I think we even tested it with girls, whether they had rooted hair or molded hair. And we felt like the molded hair really gave the personality of the character. And if that was really important, then, that was a great thing. And of course, the other side thought, you need hair. You need hair play. So we tested with girls.
Like to brush hair. They like
and
to braid hair.
In the end, they were both kind of equally popular. It was really, and I, we ended up sort of doing some of each in different scales, and it's all worked out. But it was an interesting challenge.
So there is some criticism amongst current fans that some of the toys are not, I'll put air quotes here, show accurate. So what would you say to them?
The characters or play sets or anything?
The ponies themselves, focusing on the main 6.
Yeah. I would say there's always a little bit of license when you make that translation into plastic. That can be hard. In the play sets, and we had a lot of discussions early on about what the world was going to be like. And so when she creates a barn or a house, we're, again, looking at it as toy designers. How are we going to mold this thing? How many pieces of plastic is it going to take? How much decoration? What are the shapes? So there was a lot of push and pull, and we would have to do a little bit of interpretation to be able to get it to work. Yeah, I'd have to know specifically what it was, because it's hard to know.
There's a general complaint. Maybe some people want to be negative.
Yeah. Well, and if you know the show really well, you want it to be right on.
You want Pinkie Pie's hair to have that exact curl.
Right.
That's really hard to do with doll hair.
Yeah. In the in the rooted hair, it's impossible, but in sculpted, it's more possible.
Right. Who is your favorite pony?
Oh, that's a hard one. Somebody asked me that earlier today, and I think Applejack is growing on me a lot.
I approve.
and I think it's because she's survived so long. And I also love her personality and her color. But I like them. There's a lot I like, so it's hard to pick just one.
Speaking of characters that survived, there's Spike.
Yes.
Was Spike around when you were working with Hasbro?
So Spike was in the castle, right?
Yeah.
So the other person in our design group, Ani was the head, and myself, and then our friend Kipra Nichols, he designed the castle and the pretty parlor. And Kipra, we were part of the preschool group, and he had come out of a construction project or a toy, and he was working on Snoopy toys. So he was sort of pulled into this preschool group and had to work on some girls' toys, like a castle and the parlor. So he designed those, and he created Spike. But for him, it was a little bit of a struggle. And I remember the marketing person, coming in saying, Kipra, you got to make it more girly. You got to kind of, make it more, instead of hard and boy-like, it's sort of give it some softness and detail that girls would like. So it was...
Well, Spike's cute.
Oh, not Spike, the playset, the castle.
Oh, okay.
The castle. No, Spike is adorable. I think he did a great job with Spike.
So the castle wasn't girly to begin with?
Well, it was probably more just straight structural, and I mean, when you actually look at the toys of today and the detail and sculpts and girls love little details. We were doing less of that back then. I think just the whole toy design has evolved.
We had stickers.
Yes.
The detail was in the stickers.
Detail was in the stickers. Exactly.
I still have my childhood dream castle.
Do you?
Yes, and the shape was a triangle for those of you listening, and it would open up. And
Yeah.
it's not really on the hinges so much anymore.
Right.
It was very well loved.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's
so
good.
is my Spike.
Yeah.
I'm very glad that he came back because he's
Yeah.
still adorable.
He is, and he's in entertainment. Yeah. It's
Oh,
great.
yeah. It's fantastic.
It's a great character.
Well, I think I'm going to end with a general question. And what advice do you have for an artist who would like to be a toy designer?
Well, there are a couple ways that you can get into the toy industry. There are actually 2 schools that I know of, offer toy design degrees or programs. That's FIT and Otis in California. And they specialize in toy design. So great programs. We also have hired people from all different kinds of backgrounds, from illustration, a lot of illustration and industrial design. But it's really showing a passion for creativity, imagination, and youthful style. And a lot of people get into it through internships. So if you go to a college and you're trying to get an internship to get into a toy company for a summer or semester is a great way to get some experience and sort of get to meet some people.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Well, Liz, thank you for your time. I'm very glad I could meet you and for joining us here today. Once again, this has been Cayci with Everfree Network. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank you.